Then, within the subsequent century, Ethiopia was to face a challenge of still larger magnitude by a series of people governed by an alien ideology. This may have been the most insidious challenge of all, because those who overthrew the Ethiopian governments in 1974 and 1990 knew that the spirit of Adwa would once again prevail unless they could destroy that spirit once and for all. Today, however, after the fall of those two successive communist tyrannies in Ethiopia, it is the spirit of Adwa which still motivates Ethiopians to resist attempts to destroy 3 millennia of Ethiopian Solomonic culture. You've just heard from His Imperial Highness Prince Ermias, himself of the Solomonic line, and Professor Debebe, how important the victory of Adwa remains to Ethiopians. Without Adwa, modern Ethiopia's legitimate right to identity, pride, prestige, and leadership would be much harder to grasp. I'm not here to reiterate the wonders of Adwa or of Menelik or of Haile Selassie. You've heard it tonight and you know it in your hearts and from your learning. You saw it with the great outpouring of youth in Menelik Square in Addis Ababa less than 2 weeks ago. The young people of Ethiopia want their history so that they can claim their future. My goal here tonight is to let you know that the Ethiopian crown remains the beating heart of the history of Ethiopia. The crown works every day to restore that great serenity of soul, that sense of identity to all Ethiopians. The Crown Council of Ethiopia, which Emperor Haile Selassie had the sense to integrate into the Ethiopian Constitution in 1955, remains a living institution dedicated to Ethiopia's protection. The Ethiopian crown has never gone away. It continues unbroken as the crown of Ethiopians, and therefore of the embodiment of unity. Prince Ermias, the President of the Crown Council, has developed unparalleled access to leaders around the world in a way which politicians, especially those of Ethiopia's 1974 to 2018 era, could not hope to achieve. Now, daily, the Crown Council is in contact with its network of friends and contacts around the globe. You'll have seen the multiple visits by Prince Ermias to countries where he has had unique access to leaders. And in recent years, this has turned into an opportunity for the elected Ethiopian government to the extent that Ethiopian ambassadors and diplomats have been invited to join these missions. More such visits are actively being planned, and they have the potential to do great things for Ethiopia and for its prestige. All of this work, and much more inside Ethiopia, is undertaken by the Crown Council without the benefit of any tax or other government funding base. It exists on the donations of individuals, many of them foreigners, and on the goodwill and soul of Ethiopians who yearn for a return to a time of Ethiopian greatness of spirit. All of you Ethiopians here tonight represent that incredible feeling for the sacredness of Ethiopia. But turn to see all the non-Ethiopians present. They too have been motivated by the spirit of Adwa. They have become part of the great diversity of Ethiopian peoples. Indeed, events such as this dinner not only renew the faith of us all, but contribute to the operating budget of the Crown. Each birr and every dollar is a blessing which helps to restore the greatness of Ethiopia, and each adds to the humility and bond between the Crown and all Ethiopians. Soon you will learn more about one of the great Crown projects, the creation of the Royal Ethiopian Geographical Society. This society, which has just elected the internationally renowned Ethiopian scholar Garasmach Dr. Walde Tedessa as its inaugural president, aims to create a non-profit organization which can be of invaluable service to Ethiopia. It will begin to gather all the vital statistics of Ethiopia to create a center where all of the Ethiopian terrain is mapped, where all of its mineral and other resources can be understood, where its waterways are known, its sociology and history comprehensively documented, and much more. It will combine geology and geophysics. It will employ space-based resources and great human knowledge so that Ethiopians and foreign investors have the tools to develop the nation to its fullest potential. We're in the process of creating this society as an Ethiopian legal entity, and we will find a permanent home for it in Ethiopia using modern technology to link it to the learning and teaching institutions of Ethiopia. In this, we have been strongly guided by the example of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, which has already developed a sister relationship with our Ethiopian society. And the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, His Excellency John Geiger, is here with us tonight. And he's been honoured by the Crown for his dedication in establishing this great endeavour for Ethiopia, and there's been a great bond between Canadians and Ethiopia. This leads us to the other question, which is always close to our lips, and that is, how can we ensure that the Crown Council can function safely at home in Ethiopia? How close are we to seeing that great formal reunion of the Crown into the legal framework of Ethiopia? There are ways for this to be accomplished which ensure that constitutionally based elected government remains forever in the hands of the Ethiopian people. The Crown is and must be above politics, and yet part of every level of society. This is how Emperors Menelik and Haile Selassie saw Ethiopia's future. How can the Crown be peacefully restored to the land? One thought is that we must acquire a working office for the Crown in Ethiopia, and this would also be a home for the Royal Ethiopian Geographical Society and for the Crown's Water Initiative for Africa. I'd be happy to talk with any of you at any time who may be interested in helping to make this a reality. Some of you attended the first gathering in 80 years to commemorate the victory of Gondar, which Pamela alluded to earlier. And that was the second liberation of Ethiopia from foreign invasion in 1941. The victory of Gondar anniversary was celebrated in London on November the 15th last year with our British allies. And that was a magnificent success, that dinner, because it was the first time that the victory of Gondar had really been celebrated after the war. As you know, it occurred in November 1941, after many years of fighting since 1935. That was the real start of World War II, when the Italians invaded Ethiopia in 1935. And it was only later that the international community was drawn into that battle. And the victory of Gondar marked the first Allied victory of World War II, the first time that Axis-occupied lands had been recovered. And so this was a great achievement, a great turning point in the war. And it was never celebrated, largely because literally a few days later, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and that overshadowed everything. So when we, the Crown Council, worked with the British government to celebrate the victory of Gondar 80 years after the event, it was something which really affected British policy towards Ethiopia today. So that was very profound. So we will be holding the second commemorative dinner for the victory of Gondar this year in London on November the 20th, again at the Cavalry and Guards Club in London, which was the site of the last very successful event. And we hope you'll be able to join us again there for that commemoration of Ethiopian unity, because it was in Gondar and Adwa that we saw the patriots working together to create and save a unified Ethiopia. So it's vital that we demonstrate on the ground that the Crown is always there and is always committed to supporting the Ethiopian people. The underlying truth of all of this is that the Crown is you, and you are the Crown. What you do for the Crown, you do for yourself. So with that, I want to thank you, and my thanks to you for attending this wonderful gathering tonight, for the great outpouring, as Lord Omia said, of love and intellect in the cause of Ethiopia's revival and its role, once again, as the leading light in Africa and for much of the world. So when I say good night, I would also say, God bless the Crown of Ethiopia, God bless Prince Ermias and Princess Saba, God bless Ethiopia, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.